The return you never expected. There are moments in life when someone you believed was gone forever begins to appear again, not always in front of your eyes, but first inside your thoughts, your dreams, your quietest moments. You may dismiss it as coincidence. Yet Carl Jung would ask a different question. What if your unconscious mind is recognizing a pattern long before your conscious mind can explain it? Sometimes the universe does not bring people back because the past is repeating itself. It brings them back because something within you has changed. The person who once walked away, the one you tried to forget, or the one whose silence became louder than words, may suddenly feel strangely close again. You start noticing familiar songs, repeated numbers, unexpected memories, or even random encounters that seem impossible to ignore. Most people rush to believe this is fate, but Jung believed that meaningful coincidences, what he called synchronicity, are not random at all. They are psychological signals pointing toward an invisible transformation taking place beneath the surface of your life. Yet here is the mystery almost no one understands. The universe never returns someone simply to satisfy your loneliness. It tests whether you have truly become the person you needed to be. Many people pray for someone's return, but when that moment finally arrives, they realize they are no longer the same person who once begged for it. Pain has reshaped them, silence has educated them, loss has awakened hidden strengths they never knew existed. And that is precisely when life begins to rearrange its pieces. What once felt impossible slowly starts moving toward you, almost as though an unseen force has been waiting for your inner transformation before allowing the story to continue. But this is where the greatest mistake is made. People become so focused on whether that person is coming back that they completely ignore the far more important question: why now? Why after all this time? Why after months or even years of distance? Jung would argue that every meaningful reunion is first an inner event, before it becomes an outer reality. The universe cannot reconnect two souls if one of them is still trapped inside the old version of themselves. Something deeper must awaken first, and what you are about to discover may completely change the way you interpret every strange sign, every unexpected memory, and every silence that suddenly feels different. Because the first sign that someone is being guided back into your life is not their message. It begins inside your own mind, in a way almost nobody notices until it is already happening. The invisible transformation before every reunion. Long before someone reappears in your life, something begins to shift within you so quietly that you almost overlook it. The emotions that once controlled you slowly lose their grip. The desperate need for answers begins to fade, and the endless conversations you used to replay in your mind suddenly become less important. This is not because you have forgotten that person, it is because your unconscious has started healing in ways your conscious mind cannot yet explain. Carl Jung believed that true psychological growth occurs when we stop chasing what is missing and begin integrating the hidden parts of ourselves. Ironically, this is often the exact moment the universe starts moving people back into our lives. Why? Because attachment weakens when self-awareness grows. The energy of desperation transforms into quiet confidence, and that subtle change affects everything around you. Have you ever noticed that the people you wanted most often appeared only after you had finally stopped waiting? Jung would say this is not a cruel trick of fate, but a reflection of inner balance. When your identity no longer depends on another person's presence, you become psychologically complete, and completeness has a strange way of attracting unfinished stories back into your life. This is why many people suddenly receive an unexpected message, a random phone call, or an accidental encounter after months of silence. It feels miraculous, yet beneath the surface a deeper law is at work. The unconscious mind constantly communicates with the world through patterns, choices, and subtle behaviors that most people never recognize. As your inner world changes, your outer reality quietly begins to mirror it. But do not misunderstand this process. A return is not always a reward. Sometimes it is a final lesson. The universe may bring someone back not to restore the relationship, but to reveal how much you have evolved. The person who once had the power to break your heart may now discover they no longer have power over your peace. That realization is one of the greatest victories Jung believed a human being could experience. Not controlling another person, but mastering oneself. And yet there is another sign that is even more mysterious than personal growth. Before someone returns, many people begin experiencing strange synchronicities that seem too precise to ignore. These moments appear ordinary on the surface, but according to Jung, they are among the strongest psychological signals that something meaningful is unfolding behind the scenes. The question is, are you recognizing them, or are you dismissing the very clues that could explain why the universe is preparing an unexpected reunion? Synchronicity, the silent language of the universe. One of Carl Jung's most fascinating ideas was that the universe sometimes speaks through events that seem unrelated, yet carry profound personal meaning. He called this phenomenon synchronicity, meaningful coincidences that cannot be explained by simple chance. Imagine thinking deeply about someone you have not spoken to in years, only to hear their name hours later in a completely unexpected conversation. Or perhaps you keep seeing the same numbers, hearing the same song, visiting places connected to old memories, or dreaming of someone with unusual clarity. Most people brush these moments aside as random, but Jung believed they deserve attention because they often emerge when the unconscious mind is aligning with a deeper psychological process. However, here lies the danger. Many confuse synchronicity with wishful thinking. They assume every repeated sign guarantees a romantic reunion, when in reality the signs are pointing inward before they point outward. The universe is not trying to tell you that someone will definitely return. It is trying to show you that your inner world is reaching a new level of awareness. Once you understand this, everything changes. Instead of obsessively searching for proof that another person is coming back, you begin observing your own transformation. You notice that your fears no longer dominate your decisions. The anger that once consumed you begins to dissolve. The need to control outcomes slowly disappears. This emotional shift creates space for something extraordinary to happen. Jung believed that when the conscious and unconscious mind move toward harmony, life starts presenting opportunities that once seemed impossible. Suddenly, people who disappeared without explanation feel compelled to reconnect. Old misunderstandings begin to unravel. Conversations you thought would never happen unfold naturally, without force or manipulation. Yet not every return is meant to become a permanent reunion. Sometimes a person comes back only to give closure. Sometimes they return so both of you can finally understand the lesson that separation was trying to teach. And sometimes they return because both lives have evolved enough to begin again from a completely different foundation. The universe never repeats the past exactly as it was. It offers a new possibility, but only if both people have changed. This is why Jung warned against clinging to nostalgia. If you expect the old relationship to return unchanged, you may miss the deeper purpose hidden beneath it. The greatest reunions are not recreations of yesterday. They are the birth of something wiser, stronger, and more conscious. But before such a meeting becomes possible, there is one powerful obstacle. Almost every person must overcome a hidden force buried deep within the psyche that silently pushes love away even when the heart longs to receive it. Jung believed that until this invisible barrier is recognized, every reunion remains incomplete. No matter how many signs the universe sends, the hidden shadow that keeps love away. Carl Jung believed that the greatest obstacle standing between you and the life you desire is rarely found in the outside world. It lives within the parts of yourself you refuse to see. He called this hidden side the shadow, the collection of fears, insecurities, painful memories, and emotional wounds that remain buried beneath conscious awareness. Whenever someone leaves your life, the pain is not caused only by their absence. It awakens parts of your shadow that have been waiting to be acknowledged for years. Perhaps you begin believing you are never enough, or that everyone eventually walks away, or that love always ends in disappointment. These beliefs quietly shape your reality without you realizing it. Then something unexpected happens. The universe begins preparing someone's return. But before that reunion can truly occur, it confronts you with the very wounds you have been avoiding. This explains why so many people experience emotional turbulence just before an old connection reappears. They suddenly remember forgotten conversations, feel emotions they thought were gone, or question choices they made long ago. It feels uncomfortable. Yet Jung would argue that this discomfort is not punishment, it is preparation. The shadow always rises before Transformation, because what remains hidden continues to control your life until it is brought into the light. Think about it for a moment. If the same person returned today while you still carried the same fears, would the outcome really be different? Probably not. The same misunderstandings would repeat themselves, the same emotional patterns would take control, and history would quietly begin writing itself once again. That is why the universe refuses to rush genuine reunions. It is less concerned with bringing two people together than with ensuring they are capable of meeting each other in a healthier way. The person coming back may also be facing their own shadow, confronting regrets, loneliness, pride, or the consequences of choices they once believed were final. While you are growing in silence, they may be fighting invisible battles of their own. This is why real transformation often happens separately before two paths cross again. Jung believed that relationships become meaningful only when two individuals stop expecting the other person to heal what they have refused to heal within themselves. The universe does not reward emotional dependence. It rewards inner wholeness. And when two people begin approaching life from that place of maturity, even a broken story can find a completely different ending. But there is another mystery Jung explored that goes even deeper than the shadow of force hidden inside every man and every woman that silently influences attraction, longing, and unexpected reunions. Many people never discover this force, yet it may explain why someone who disappeared from your life suddenly feels drawn back toward you after such a long time. The invisible magnet. Anima and animus. Carl Jung believed that every human being carries an invisible inner companion. Within every man lives the anima, the unconscious feminine image that shapes how he experiences emotion, intimacy, and love. Within every woman lives the animus, the unconscious masculine image that influences her strength, judgment, and relationships. Most people spend their lives searching for someone who seems to complete them, never realizing they are actually seeking the forgotten parts of themselves reflected in another person. This is why certain connections feel impossible to explain. You meet someone and it seems as if you have known them forever. Their presence awakens emotions far deeper than ordinary attraction. Even after separation, their memory refuses to disappear, because the bond was never only with the person, it was also with the unconscious part of yourself they activated. According to Jung, when someone leaves your life, they often take with them the projection of qualities you believed existed only in them. You tell yourself they were the only one who understood you, inspired you, or made you feel alive. But as time passes, something remarkable begins to happen. You slowly reclaim those qualities within yourself. The confidence you admired in them begins growing inside you. The peace they once gave you becomes something you create on your own. The love you searched for in another person starts emerging from within. This is one of the deepest psychological transformations Jung described. And here is the fascinating part. As you withdraw those unconscious projections and become more emotionally whole, the energetic dynamic between you and that person changes. Without saying a single word, you become different in ways they can often sense even from a distance. Many people report that just when they genuinely stop needing someone to return, that person unexpectedly reaches out. Jung would not call this magic or coincidence. He would say that psychological transformation changes the way you relate to the world, and relationships naturally respond to that change. But this does not guarantee the return will unfold exactly as you imagine. Sometimes the universe brings someone back to show you that your feelings were based on projection rather than reality. Other times it reveals that beneath all the pain, a genuine connection still exists, one that could never survive until both individuals matured separately. The challenge is recognizing which kind of reunion is taking place. If you cling to fantasy, you may overlook reality. If you remain trapped in fear, you may reject an opportunity that has arrived at exactly the right moment. Jung believed wisdom lies not in forcing destiny, but in seeing clearly when it finally arrives. And there is one final stage before a meaningful reunion becomes possible, a period so quiet and confusing that many mistake it for abandonment, when in truth it is the universe making its last preparations before two paths cross, again in a way neither person could have predicted. The silence before the return. Perhaps the most misunderstood phase of every meaningful reunion is the silence that comes before it. To the ordinary mind, silence feels like rejection, distance, or even the end of the story. But Carl Jung saw silence differently. He believed that the unconscious mind does its deepest work when nothing appears to be happening on the surface. This is why the period before someone's return often feels strangely empty. The messages stop. The signs seem to disappear. The emotional intensity fades. You may even convince yourself that you have finally moved on. Yet beneath that calm, an invisible transformation is still unfolding. Think of nature for a moment. A seed spends weeks hidden beneath the soil before anyone sees the first sign of life. During that unseen period, it is not inactive, it is developing the roots necessary to support future growth. Human relationships often follow the same pattern. The universe allows silence because it gives both people the opportunity to grow without influencing each other. If contact happened too soon, old habits would likely return. Pride would replace honesty. Fear would replace trust. And the relationship would collapse under the weight of unresolved emotions. But when enough time has passed for genuine interchange, silence begins serving a different purpose. Instead of separating two people, it prepares them to meet again without carrying the same emotional baggage. This is why many reunions happen when they are least expected. One ordinary day, a forgotten name appears on your phone. A familiar face crosses your path by chance. A conversation begins with no dramatic plan. Yet it feels as though an invisible thread has quietly led both of you to that exact moment. Jung would argue that these events are meaningful not because they are supernatural, but because they reveal the hidden order connecting the inner and outer worlds. However, there is an important warning hidden inside this idea. Never mistake waiting for growing. Many people spend years hoping someone will return while remaining emotionally frozen in the past. That is not transformation. It is attachment wearing the mask of patience. Real growth means becoming so deeply connected to your own purpose that your happiness no longer depends on another person's decision. Ironically, that emotional freedom is often what makes authentic reconnection possible. Whether that person returns or not, you are no longer incomplete. You are no longer searching for someone to rescue you from loneliness. Instead, you become someone capable of sharing life without losing yourself. And when two people reach that level of maturity, the reunion is no longer driven by need. It is guided by conscious choice. Yet there is one final truth Jung would want you to understand, a truth that changes the meaning of every sign, every separation, and every unexpected return. It is the difference between chasing destiny and becoming the person destiny has been waiting for all along. Become the person the universe can trust. The greatest misunderstanding about destiny is the belief that it revolves around finding the right person. Carl Jung believed the opposite. Destiny begins when you become the right person. The universe does not simply arrange meetings. It responds to psychological readiness. This is why two people can cross paths at the wrong time, separate for years, and then unexpectedly meet again under completely different circumstances. It is not because time itself healed everything. It is because experience transformed them into people capable of seeing each other with new eyes. The version of you who once acted from fear is not the same version standing here today. Every disappointment forced you to confront hidden weaknesses. Every lonely night revealed strengths that comfort never could. Every unanswered question pushed you towards self-discovery instead of dependency. Jung believed that suffering has a mysterious purpose when it leads to greater consciousness. Without those painful experiences, you might have continued repeating the same emotional patterns forever. Instead, you learned to recognize your own value without waiting for someone else to confirm it. And that inner confidence changes the energy of every relationship that enters your life. If someone from your past is truly meant to return, they will not meet the broken person they once knew. They will meet someone who has learned to protect their peace without building walls around their heart. They will meet someone who listens more than reacts, who understands more than judges, and who values honesty over fantasy. This is the version of you that the universe has been quietly shaping all along. Yet there is another possibility you must be willing to accept. Sometimes the universe brings a person back only so you can finally recognize that you no longer need what you once begged for. That realization is not a failure. It is one of the highest forms of freedom. You no longer confuse attachment with love or familiarity with destiny. You are able to appreciate the role someone played in your journey without allowing your future to remain chained to your past. Jung believed that true love can exist only where there is freedom, because anything built on fear, control, or emotional dependence eventually destroys itself. So if someone returns, welcome the moment with awareness instead of expectation. Observe who they have become, but also notice who you have become. The most meaningful reunion is not the one that restores the past, it is the one that creates a future neither of you could have imagined before your transformation. And if the universe has indeed been guiding someone back toward your life, there will be one unmistakable sign that separates a genuine reunion from a temporary emotional illusion. It is a sign so subtle that most people overlook it completely. Yet once you understand it, you will never look at relationships the same way again. The sign that reveals a true return. There is a difference between someone returning because they miss your presence and someone returning because they have transformed enough to truly value your soul. Carl Jung believed that the deepest connections are not measured by how strongly two people desire each other, but by how consciously they are able to meet each other. Many people return to the past because they feel lonely, nostalgic, or uncomfortable with change. They remember the beautiful moments and forget the painful patterns that caused separation in the first place. But a genuine reunion carries a different energy. It does not arrive with confusion, manipulation, or the need to force what once was. It arrives with clarity. You notice that conversations feel different. There is less need to defend yourself and more willingness to understand. The old arguments lose their power because both people have developed a greater awareness of their own emotions. This is the sign Jung would have considered meaningful, the return of consciousness. When two people meet again after a period of growth, they are no longer simply reacting from old wounds. They are choosing from a place of understanding. This is why some reunions feel strangely peaceful. There is no desperate attempt to recreate the past. There is only a quiet recognition that something important has changed. However, before this kind of connection can happen, you must learn to separate intuition from emotional longing. The human mind is powerful, but it can also create illusions when the heart wants something badly. Sometimes we interpret every coincidence as a message because we are searching for hope. Jung understood this deeply, which is why he emphasized self-awareness above all else. A true inner knowing does not create anxiety. It does not make you obsessed with signs or force you to chase answers. Instead, it creates a sense of calm. You begin to trust that what belongs in your life will not require you to abandon yourself to keep it. If someone is truly returning, you will not need to convince them of your worth. You will not need to beg for attention or prove that you deserve love. Their actions will naturally reveal their intentions. The universe does not communicate only through mysterious moments. It also speaks through reality, through choices, and through behavior. This is where many people misunderstand destiny. They look toward the sky for signs while ignoring the evidence directly in front of them. Jung would remind you that the unconscious communicates through symbols, but wisdom comes from interpreting those symbols with awareness. The return of someone from your past is not the end of your journey. It is a mirror, asking you a deeper question. Are you ready to receive what you once wanted? Or have you become someone who desires something greater? Because sometimes the person returning is not the miracle. Sometimes the miracle is the person you have become while they were away. The final lesson. Before destiny reconnects two souls, every person who enters your life carries a message. But not every message is meant to last forever. Carl Jung believed that relationships are among the greatest teachers of human consciousness because they reveal parts of ourselves that we would never discover alone. Someone can enter your world and awaken love, confidence, passion, or even pain that forces you to grow. When that person leaves, it may feel like something has been taken from you, but often something is being returned, a deeper understanding of yourself. This is why the return of someone from your past is rarely just about them coming back. It is about what their presence represents in your own psychological journey. Perhaps they represent a version of yourself you lost along the way. Perhaps they remind you of dreams you abandoned or emotions you were afraid to feel. Or perhaps they return as proof that you have finally healed the wound that once connected you to them. Jung believed that the unconscious often brings unfinished experiences back into awareness because the mind seeks completion, not because it wants to trap you in the past, but because it wants you to integrate the lesson and move forward with greater wisdom. This is why certain people remain unforgettable even after years of separation. Their importance is not always found in how long they stayed, but in how deeply they transformed you. Yet when the possibility of their return appears, you must ask yourself a powerful question. Do you miss the person, or do you miss the feeling you experienced when you were with them? This question separates emotional attachment from genuine connection. Many people chase the memory of someone rather than the reality of who that person has become. They hold on to an old image, an old conversation, an old version of love that no longer exists. But conscious love requires seeing people as they are now, not as they were before. If the universe brings someone back, it does not bring back a memory, it brings back a living person who has also been shaped by time, mistakes, and experiences. The reunion becomes meaningful only when both people are willing to meet in the present moment instead of trying to recreate the past. Jung understood that humans often seek external answers for internal questions. We ask will they return? When the deeper question is, have I returned to myself? Because the greatest reunion is not between two people. It is between you and the parts of yourself you abandoned while searching for someone else's love. When you reclaim your confidence, your purpose, and your inner peace, you stop waiting for someone to complete your story. You become the author of it. And strangely enough, this is often when life begins bringing unexpected chapters back to you. But there is one final truth that determines whether this returning person is truly meant to stay or simply meant to teach you one last lesson. The truth about love, timing, and why some souls find each other again only after they have both learned how to stand alone. The reunion that begins within you. The deepest lesson Carl Jung would leave us with is this. The universe does not bring people back to complete you. It brings them back to reveal how complete you have already become. The person you once lost may return with a message, a conversation, or an unexpected appearance, but the true transformation happened long before that moment. It happened during the nights when you had to face your own thoughts. It happened during the silence when you had no choice but to understand yourself. It happened when you stopped searching for someone else to give you the love, validation, and peace that you needed to create within yourself. Jung believed that the journey toward wholeness, what he called individuation, is the most important journey a human being can experience. It is the process of becoming your authentic self, free from old fears, unconscious patterns, and emotional dependence. And when you complete even a small part of that journey, your entire relationship with life changes. You no longer chase what leaves. You no longer beg what hesitates. You no longer force what is not aligned with your growth. Instead, you trust that what belongs to your path will meet you with the same level of awareness and intention that you have developed within yourself. If someone from your past is truly being guided back to you, they will not return to the same version of you they left behind. They will encounter someone stronger, calmer, and more conscious. Someone who can love deeply without losing themselves. Someone who can forgive without forgetting their own worth. Someone who understands that a connection is valuable not because they cannot live without it, but because they freely choose to share their life with another person. This is the difference between attachment and true love. Attachment says, I need you because I am incomplete. Conscious love says, I am whole and I choose to walk beside you. Perhaps this is why some people return after years of distance. Time was never separating them forever. It was preparing them. It was removing illusions, healing wounds, and creating two individuals who could finally meet without destroying each other. But remember this, the universe's greatest gift is not always bringing someone back. Sometimes the greatest gift is showing you that you can finally be happy whether they return or not. Because when you reach that level of inner peace, you become free. And freedom is where the most meaningful connections begin. So if you have been feeling that someone from your past is moving closer again, pay attention, not only to the signs around you, but to the changes happening inside you. Notice the calm replacing the anxiety. Notice the confidence replacing the fear. Notice the wisdom replacing the pain. These are the true signs of transformation. The universe may bring someone back to your life, but first it brings you back to yourself. And perhaps that was the reunion you were always waiting for. Because when you finally discover yourself, every relationship that enters your life, whether old or new, has the chance to become something far more beautiful than before.